Alright, we're back on this situation. You know what? Now that the story has come out, I stand very firm on the previous video that I did on this. And I have to say this due to the fact that I didn't want to seem like I was being very judgmental towards, my student Brandon, who was the one they were looking for. I didn't want to be too judgmental on him because I didn't know the entire story yet, and we found out the entire story now that it's public. But I find it funny that the news isn't talked about that. I find it really funny. Yeah. If they stop reporting about it after, he turned himself in. I'll talk about that in a bit, all right? He turned himself in and he was charged. Yeah, but that's not where the story ends, okay? That's what the news wants you to think, but that's not how it ends. No. However, I will say that, I didn't want to rush a judgment on this, and it's probably best that I didn't, after everything that's happened. Now, I will say that within all this, it's kind of sad to hear how things happen, but this is also kid shit that was taken to a bad level. That's what happened here, all right? So let's get into that, okay, shall we? Apparently, for what they're not telling you on the news, on the radio, and I will talk about that, all right, in a bit. Like I said, I want to talk about that so bad, oh my God. So this all happened because of drugs, all right? It was a drug deal gone bad. That's right. Apparently, my student, Brandon, that I haven't seen, like I said, in a couple months, he wanted to buy some weed from some kid, right? For one of the kids, one of the victims, actually, all right? The victim was going to sell him weed, so he gave him the money first and then expected the weed afterwards, you know what I mean? You gotta think there's still kids, this is school and all that type of stuff. So, apparently what happened was the kid stiffed him on the deal, all right? He took his money, but didn't give him his drugs. That's what this is about, okay? So, of course, because the kids took the money and was like, I'm not giving you a damn thing, I don't owe you anything, I'm just taking your money, ha ha ha, Brandon got mad. And Brandon got to the point where he got so mad about it and felt it was disrespect because you know how this goes. If someone stiffs you on a deal or somebody treats you a specific way in that neighborhood and everyone sees it, then everyone's going to think they can get away with it if you let it slide. That's how it works. So you have to set a standard. However, in this case, Brandon did what a lot of kids used to do back in my day, all right? And you say, what, kill someone? No. Just listen, all right? He went and got friends, all right? He paid some friends to beat the kid up. That's what happened. Now, like I said, back in my day, kids did this all the time. You had kids come into different neighborhoods and fight, and it would be 10 on 10 or whatever, or they paid other people to hire some muscle. This happened a lot, back in the day. And as you can see today, it's still prevalent. It still happens. So, he paid some kids to beat the kid up. Apparently, the kid who stiffed him on the deal got word that Brandon had paid these kids to beat him up. So, when they knew they were coming to his house, the kid called his friends up and was like, they all huddled in his house just waiting. That's what it was. All right. And the other kid, who was the other victim, he found out what was going on later and was like, oh no, I can't have my friend get beat up like this or get into this mass brawl. Let me get him out the house. So the kid went to his friend's house to get him out the house. By the time he got there, Brandon and all his friends were there. They were ready to throw down. So it's a bunch of them, and then you have a bunch of kids in the other house who are coming to pour out the other house. So it's an all-out brawl, right? That's what's happening. People are fighting. These are kids, 16 years old. They're fighting in the streets. Now, of course, you see a lot of, the first thing you think, someone's going to record and put on World Star. That's what you think, right? Because that's what we see these days, as opposed to, everything staying in silence. And like I said, the only reason I'm telling you this is because, like I said, it's public now. You know what I mean? After we got all the information, our facility, the community, everyone's in shock of the way the news has responded to this, but let's keep this in perspective, okay? So the kids are fighting, right? And apparently one of the guys that Brandon paid to fight, all right, to beat him up, had a gun on him. Now, for what we heard, Brandon did not know that he had a gun on him, all right, the guy that he paid. Apparently the kid, who's apparently he's like 14 or something, he's 14 years old, pulls out a gun, shoots it in the air, right, to disperse the crowd, aims at the one kid who was trying to get his friend out, shoots him first. He falls. The other kid sees it, that stiff Brandon on the deal, tries to turn around and run back into the house, and he shoots the kid in the back. Okay? That's what happens. So that's what we know so far. So there was a shooter, but apparently it wasn't Brandon. Brandon paid these kids, but didn't know that the one kid brought a gun. Did not know. Okay? With that said, mind you, at the time, Brandon was not a suspect. He was not a person of interest. Remember, the news had said he's only wanted for questioning in the shooting because no one believed that he did it. Witnesses who saw it said he didn't do it. The other kids who were fighting for the other on the other side said, nah, he didn't do it. He didn't do it. However, there were some who wanted vengeance. So, let's talk about that. Now, this fast forwards up to when we saw in the previous video of this, when the news decided to post Brandon's face, name, and address online. Okay? When the address hit online, what happened? People went after Brandon. They went after his house. Alright? Now, here's the thing. This really pisses me off because, once again, NBC10 knew better to do this. So, yeah, it's kind of tough to know how this happened because of the news. Alright. So, once the address was put online, the one victim that died, his father was very upset, as any parent would be when their child is upset. He wanted vengeance. He was mad. For what we heard, there was retaliation. Now, they're not linking so far the father to the retaliation, but there was retaliation. Because Brandon's house, his address was posted online by NBC10, his house was then shot up. Alright? It was shot up. Thank God that nobody inside was hurt. Alright? Thank God. Because there were people in the house and they shot up his house. That's what caused Brandon to run. Okay? That's what caused it. Now that we know. That's what caused him to run. Now, here's the thing. Okay? Oh my God. I feel as though it's very disrespectful. Not just the news at NBC10, but KYW. KYW, they, on the radio, in the car, I was listening to it, and they were talking about it, on the news. And the guy was like, oh, and he really did it like a by the way. He was like, oh, by the way, his house was shot up, but there were no injuries. That doesn't make it okay. You don't gloss over that, someone's house being shot up. What's wrong with you? But that's what they did. Now, here's the thing. If it wasn't for NBC10, his house wouldn't have been shot up, which means he wouldn't have fled, which will then lead me to my next part of the story of this. And this is where it gets bad. This is where NBC, for those who saw what I said on Twitter about breaking Brandon, this is what happened, all right? After his house was shot up, he had nowhere to go. He didn't contact nobody, and he just went all out. He just went off. So now that he knew that the kids had shot up his house, okay, because they got his address, Brandon decided, because he knew what schools the kids were, Brandon went off the deep end and decided to call the schools that they were at and letting the schools know, I'm coming to each of those schools and I'm going to shoot them up. That's what he did. That's what he did. He was coming to shoot up the school, to shoot up the kids. What happened when he posted those threats? Those schools here were shut down. They were. Now, mind you, the reason I see this is because the community, I was talking to them face to face, they're showing me the texts. They're showing me the pictures. And I say this because I'm thinking to myself, Brandon really went this far. And they're actually showing me pictures because apparently Brandon knew where the kids were going because he knows how they go home, how they take the train. Brandon was on the train waiting for them, so he was going to shoot up the train. They had to shut down the train. Okay? I saw the picture that they showed me when I was in front of him. It's a picture of him with an actual bandana on his face. You can tell it's him. But a bandana across his face, and he's waiting. He's just waiting. He's on the train. He's waiting. And to see the text chat that was going on, that they showed me, that they screenshotted, definitely Brandon had did that. He threatened the schools, he threatened the subway system, whatever, and he got it all shut down. Okay? He was gone. He was completely gone after that. So, afterwards, when these things happened, as you know, the news they were updating articles. I talked about this before. They constantly updated the article, which then pissed off not only my facility, but pissed off the community. All right? Because a number of people that I'm talking to outside are very upset at NBC10 because between the time of 10 a.m. to, I'm going to say about 6:45, 7 o'clock, all right? They updated the article like 8 times because they kept changing it. As you know, he was not a suspect. He was just not even a person interested. They just wanted to talk to him to find out what happened. After the police found out about the threats that happened, they automatically won a warrant for his arrest. That put him in red right there. You know what I mean? So, with this said, mind you, these are kids who are 16, ranging ages from 14 to 16 years old, okay? And it goes to also show you, if a 14-year-old can get a gun out of nowhere, I told you, it's easy to get a gun anywhere. It's easy here. It is. Like I told y'all before, they sell them in neighborhoods or out of the back of cars, out of trunks, for like $35 in school zones. Last guy who tried to do that in Port Richmond, he got caught. I think he got, what, like 5 years for that? Like, so it goes to show you that these things do happen here, okay? However, with this said, all right, as you know, once they found out that there was a warrant for his arrest and everyone was looking for him, because I've told you on Twitter, there was a number of boxers, out of my camp who didn't go to the fight that night to go and look for Brandon. They were concerned for him. You know what I mean? I had a number of people in my facility who took blame on themselves. They were like, maybe if I talked to him more, maybe I could have, found out what was going on with him. There was a number of us who felt really bad that maybe we failed him. You know what I mean? That's what it was. Maybe we failed him. And it's one of those things where you look back. And because of that, we have made the decision that, that weekend, take the weekend off, everybody, get your thoughts together and everything. Brandon turned himself in. And it was kind of painful to look at Twitter and see a lot of ignorant people, responding to NBC10. Oh, he's been charged with this. Oh, he turned himself in. And people like, good riddance, that thug, blah, 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 blah. He killed those people. And I'm like, if you only knew half the story that was going on. You know what I mean? So now the story is whether, now that he's in custody, I don't know what, we're still waiting, whether he's going to confess to the crime or if he's going to, whatever the guy he paid, he's going to, dare I say, roll over on him, rat him out or whatever. We don't know. And that's what people in the neighborhood are wondering right now, because they're literally saying, like some people are even taking bets and saying, nah, it's a coin flip at this point. Because either way you see it, Brandon is going to jail. He's going to jail because they can get him with conspiracy, the premeditated conspiracy, all right? And as you know, they'll also get him for the terroristic threats. So, I mean, I'd rather do 5 to 10 for that than do 25 to life for double murder. But that's just me. But it depends on how, if he's going to tell on the other person or not. Like I said, the shooter, for what we heard, is 14 years old. So while a lot of you are on here are arguing about video games and stuff like that, and people really, on the internet threatening each other, we got 14-year-olds out there shooting people in the face, or in the back, I should say. Shooting people in the back. Getting guns like it's nothing to it. So it's one of those things where now it's a situation where, like I said, the news stopped reporting on this after they found out he turned himself in and he was charged, with the double murder. Okay? And they haven't said anything since. The neighborhood is so upset at NBC10 for leaking the information because if you think about it, the house wouldn't have been shot up. He wouldn't have went on a run. He wouldn't have made those threats. You know what I mean? All that led up to the news putting his information out there of a minor that they weren't supposed to. A minor who, at the time when you put it out there, wasn't a suspect. So yes, you have to understand that the neighborhood is very upset, and the family is thinking about pressing charges. Well, suing NBC10. As far as I'm concerned, they should. They should. This is what we deal with now. This is where we're at now. This is it. Because it's like I said, it's hurt a lot of people at our facility, at my facility. It's hurt a lot of people in the neighborhood. And all for what? NBC10. For what? Some clicks? Some views? Some retweets? You literally turn the community upside down. Like, you gotta think. Fighting is one thing. A bunch of kids out there fighting, okay, world star. Guess what? You live to fight another day. But now we're talking about people being shot. And no one told that kid to pull out a gun and shoot or whatever. But still, and even if Brandon didn't know, still, he's got to take the responsibility for that because he hired him. So, hired gun, conspiracy, premeditated, as you can see at this point, premeditated murder because you were planning to do something to the kid. There's some type of harm. It's going to come back to him. It is. But for what we heard from the witnesses, from the people who were with him, for the people who were against him, he wasn't technically the shooter. He was not technically holding the gun. That's what we've heard so far. That's what people have went to the police. You know what I mean? They've, some of the kids have went to the police and said, look, I will be your witness. I will testify. This is the thing. The police isn't letting that be known, though, for some reason. Like 10 people went to the police and was like, yeah, I was involved in it, and I'm going to let you know what happened, and that's it. So, for the witnesses to come out and really step up, kids, mind you still, step up and say, look, I will be held accountable for this. I will let you know what's going on. And NBC10 or any other news outlet not talk about that part? Yeah. I guess everyone's just waiting for the trial at this point, right? So then you can, not televise, but report on it some more. So you can say you were the first to the story, huh? Here's the thing. You're not first to the story, and you're leaving the public out, seriously, just out of the loop. So, yeah. Since then, it's been very tough, like I said, on my facility. Like I said, we still have a lot of guys who feel as though they failed Brandon. I would say you have to be responsible for your own actions. But the news really did not help the situation at all. They made the situation worse than what it was. And I put it like this, all right? It's already bad enough that 2 people have died. 2 kids have died. It's tragic. 2 people, lives were lost. And then, for some clicks, you almost get other people killed. And you take no responsibility for that. That's disgusting. That is. So yes, Brandon has been charged right now. We'll see if it sticks. But this is the update that I can give you so far that we know. So yeah, it's been a tough couple weeks because like I said, a lot of guys even at the facility are friends of his. They go to school with them. They're kids. They go to school with him. You know what I mean? They've known him for a long time. And then even talking to him, they're like, I had no idea. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them because he didn't involve everyone. He hired people I guess that wasn't that close to him I guess, but he they had no idea. Even when I was talking to other people, they was like, man, he didn't do it. He didn't do it, right? I can tell you why. And then, like I said, then they showed me all the stuff, all the pictures, the text messages and stuff. It's like, he really didn't do it. But of course, I can't show y'all that, because you know how it is around here. I can't do that. I said the only reason I'm talking about it right now is because at least the information I'm giving you right now is public. And I don't mean on the news level. I mean on the street level. It's public. So it's not like I'm snitching on anybody or anything like that or put myself in danger or anything. No, it's the fact that this is public. And the fact that people who were involved had no problem speaking up. Look, they're kids. They were fighting. Clearly it got out of hand. Some idiot pulls out a fucking gun and takes 2 lives. Instead of just fighting it out like everyone else was. Apparently what people were saying, that was the only weapon, all right, in the entire fight. Everyone came to fight with their fists. They were just going to jump the kid. The kid was like, I'm not having it. The other kid was like, my friend's going to get jumped. Let me pull him out the house. So he died later in the hospital. The kid who was there to help him get out the house, not the fight, but to get him out the house, to get him out of danger, was the first to get shot. And he died. And then the kid who stepped on the deal, he was the second one to get shot. And he died. All this over some weed. But as you know, people are killed for less. But it makes no sense. Like I said, it is kid shit, but as you know, it does have consequences. And I really wish, if we're going to talk about responsibility and consequences, that NBC10, that you take some responsibility as well.